Imagine living in a house where you've already tried everything. Priests have blessed it, pastors have prayed over it. You've covered the walls with blessed crucifixes, crosses, and rosaries. You've even had an exorcist involved. And yet the activity keeps coming back. That's what happened to Bob and his wife. We went to Pennsylvania 4 times to try to help them. And by the time we made our final visit, whatever was in that house had become physical. This is part 1 of a case that would ultimately require an exorcist. Welcome back, everyone. This demonic case took us to Pennsylvania 4 times between 2015 and 2016. 4 trips. And in the end, an exorcist had to be called in. This is going to be a 2-part video. Part 1 will cover our first 3 visits. Part 2 will cover our final visit. And that's when things attacked us mentally and physically. And let me tell you, as soon as we arrived on our 4th visit, things went sideways very quickly. So let's start with the initial complaints and background the client gave us during our first call. The client, who we'll call Bob, and his wife, had been living in the townhouse since 1982. The home was built in 1910. It had 3 levels, plus a basement. The 3rd level was essentially a walk-in attic that they used for storage. According to Bob, the problems started about 3 years after they moved in. And over the years, there was a long list of activity. They would hear banging throughout the house. In the master bedroom closet, they would hear 3 knocks in succession. Bob tried to find a logical explanation for it. He searched the area and looked for anything that could be causing the sounds. Eventually, he actually tore the closet completely apart to see if something was hidden inside the walls or behind the structure. He found nothing, but the activity continued. He would hear random laughing. He saw the face of an extremely old woman, someone he estimated looked well over 100 years old, with disheveled hair. Around 2005, he heard growling coming from the bedroom. Around 2007, he heard hissing and said he actually saw a snake. He heard a woman's voice say, "What are you doing here? What do you want?" Back in 1987, he heard a little girl say, "Daddy," in what he described as an old English accent. There was also more growling, hissing, and humming over the years. He would hear old-fashioned music playing, even though there was no apparent source. And while lying in bed, he would sometimes hear banging noises. Then there were the shadows. Bob said he would see shadows moving through the bedroom wall and into the guest room next door. One evening, his cat actually appeared to be chasing one of these shadows and ran straight into the wall. He also had motion sensors on the stairs that would activate sporadically. On one occasion, he saw one of the sensors light up, followed by what he described as a black shadow coming down the stairs. By now, Bob had already tried getting help. A priest came to bless the house. During the blessing, the cat went over and sat right beside the priest. When the priest noticed this, he reached down and blessed the cat as well. They had also started remodeling the house around 2013. Bob reported having scratches appear on his arms, approximately 6 inches long. 2 were on his left arm and 1 on his right. His current cat had also been seen fighting something that Bob couldn't see. And then there was something particularly disturbing. Bob told us that he had suffered 5 heart attacks in his bedroom. In around 2010, another one of his cats died. And according to Bob, the cat had supposedly been crushed from the inside. A pastor later went into the attic to bless it. 3 separate times, the pastor reportedly felt as though he was being choked. Another priest came to bless the house 4 times. And according to Bob, during one of those visits, the priest said he heard a woman's voice. And then there was an incident involving Bob's grandson. Around 2012, the grandson was in his crib when he suddenly started screaming. Bob ran to him with a flashlight. And according to Bob, the floor started shaking. He grabbed holy water and began spraying the area. And then he had more religious intervention. Around 2008, 2 priests came to the house together. Both reportedly experienced severe headaches while they were there. After that, things became quiet for a while. But eventually the activity started again. So Bob had another group come in and sage the house. According to him, things got worse afterwards. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos, but I'll mention it again here. I don't recommend using sage when you're dealing with what you believe may be a demonic case. In our experience, it doesn't remove a spirit. And in cases like this, it can sometimes make the activity worse. Another time, Bob had reported suffering what he described as third-degree burns from a coffee machine around 2010. At one point, one of the priests reportedly told him that whatever was in the house seemed to believe it had a right to be there. Now, that statement would become very important later. Now, let's talk about the locked bedroom. This is another detail that immediately caught my attention. According to Bob, the previous tenants had placed a padlock on the outside of one of the upstairs bedrooms. Now think about that. A lock on the outside of a bedroom door. The previous tenants were 3 adults. And according to Bob, they were all living downstairs. Nobody was using the upstairs bedrooms. So why would they need to lock one of those rooms from the outside? We obviously couldn't answer that question, but it was certainly something we kept in the back of our minds. Bob also told us that the area had supposedly been built on land where graves had previously been located and relocated. His theory was that perhaps not all of the graves had actually been moved. Now, whether that was true or not, we had no way of knowing. So why did we agree to go? Well, by the time Bob contacted us, he had already tried priests, pastors, blessings, cleansing, paranormal groups, and other methods. He had even had an exorcist involved early on. So when he contacted our team, my first thought was, what could we possibly do that hasn't already been done? But after talking with him, it became obvious that this wasn't someone looking for attention. He sounded genuinely desperate and genuinely scared. So we agreed to go to Pennsylvania and see what we could do. Our first visit was March 2015. When we first arrived at the house, there was something that immediately caught everyone's attention. There were religious items everywhere. Blessed crosses, crucifixes on the walls, blessed rosaries hanging from the air vents. There were religious items throughout the house. Now, I jokingly started calling it the Little Vatican, but honestly, it was incredible. You would think that with that many blessed religious objects throughout the house, anything evil would not want anything to do with the place. But, as we would soon find out, whatever was in that house didn't seem to care. And that comment from the earlier priest, that whatever was there felt like it had a right to be there, would start making a lot more sense. Bob was convinced that whatever was happening had something to do with the master bedroom closet. But remember, he had already torn that closet apart. He had searched for anything that might have left behind what could somehow be acting as an anchor. We did the same thing. And over the course of our first 3 visits, we went through that closet multiple times. We also searched the attic relentlessly. We were looking for anything unusual. An old doll, an occult object, a small bag, something hidden behind a panel, a secret opening, anything that might explain why the activity was still occurring. But we found nothing. There wasn't an area of that house that we didn't investigate. And still, nothing. So, we began our first cleansing and blessing. Here are some clips from our first visit in March 2015. And as always, any videos have been blurred to protect the family.
Duck.
You okay?
Yeah.
Your son's name?
His son is Duck. Duck? And that's like his right. That's the son's nickname. That's what I heard, like Duck or Doc. Duck.
Are you in purgatory?
Grab it. What is your name?
Tim woke up one morning and he saw a woman's face beside the bed. Who was that woman? What is the name of the priest that came here and did a blessing? Can you give me the name of one of the priests? Are there any evil spirits in this house? Yes. To pray with you so you can cross over and be with your loved ones. Were you a Christian when you were alive? You either have to stop the scaring or you have to leave.
Unfortunately, the cleansing we performed in March didn't hold. So, just 1 month later, April 2015, we were back. During our second visit, something happened that I will never forget. Before we performed the cleansing and blessing, we were in the master bedroom doing our crossing over prayer. I was sitting on the bed while one of my colleagues was leading the prayer. And as clearly as I'm sitting here talking to you now, I heard a female voice whisper directly into my ear, "Goodbye." That's it. Just one word. Goodbye. Now, during these prayers, you never really know what may be happening in the spiritual realm. But if what I heard was someone who had finally been given an opportunity to move on, and they were thankful enough to say goodbye, that was incredibly special to me. I want to take a moment to explain something we do before house cleansing. Before we perform a cleansing and blessing, we always conduct the crossing over prayer, as I mentioned earlier. The reason is simple. If there are human spirits in the home who want to move on, we want to give them that opportunity before the cleansing begins. Maybe they're stuck there. Maybe they're attached to something. Maybe they simply don't know how to move on. Whatever the reason, we want to give them that chance first. Now, what does that actually look like in the spiritual world? Honestly, I have no idea. But I can tell you how I personally envision it. During the crossing over prayer, I imagine angels coming for those who are willing to leave, giving them the opportunity to move on. Free will still applies. Then, when we begin the cleansing, I envision Jesus and warrior angels coming in to remove whatever remains. Now, that's my personal belief and my personal visualization. I'm not claiming I know exactly what happens in the spiritual realm, but that's how I understand and envision what we're doing. Now, here are some clips from our second visit, April 2015.
If you are an earthbound spirit and you're stuck here, we will help you, we will pray with you, we will do whatever we can to help you, but you need to help us too. We need to help Tim. I ain't leaving, I'm staying. The next time we come back, it's going to be with somebody you don't want here. Do you understand? So do you remember me? If there's a demonic spirit in this house, touch that red light and let me know. Do you want prayers? Do you want us to pray for you to help you to move on?
This time the cleansing seemed to work a little longer, but unfortunately, not by much. We will be back in June 2015. So by June 2015, we were making our third trip to Pennsylvania. Here are some clips from that visit.
Where this room was. What the room I'm doing.
By the time we left, we weren't particularly hopeful. We had searched the house. We had searched the attic. We had gone through that closet repeatedly. We had performed prayers, blessings, and cleansings. And we still hadn't found that silver bullet. That one thing that would explain why this activity was happening or what was keeping it there. We had nothing. But then something unexpected happened. Bob kept in contact with me. And for a while, things seemed to be getting better. We went into 2016 and things were still going well. Maybe, just maybe, we had finally gotten ahead of it. But then came October 2016 and everything changed. The activity came back. And this time, it was worse. That's where we'll pick up in part 2, our final visit. A night I will never forget. And unfortunately, not for a good reason. Because this time, things became personal and physical. And eventually, an exorcist had to be called in. So make sure you watch part 2. You do not want to miss what happened next. Thanks for watching, and remember, seek the truth, not the fear.